Hello, good evening. My name is Olubenga Erinoso. I'm a student of Information Technology and taking communication class, public speaking class, COMM 2400 by Professor Mellisa Weaver. Although the direction does not state how long this speech should last, however, I will make it as short as possible. Thanks. My topic is globalization, virtual or real. The general purpose is to inform, and the specific purpose is to inform my audience that globalization is indeed here. And my thesis statement is to establish the fact about the existence of globalization and to enumerate its merits and demerits with regard to the main two strata of the world, talking about the global north and the global south. And the elements of my speech contains the introduction, then I'll be explaining or defining what globalization is, and of course the body contains four main points, and that is how far has globalization gone around the world. The second point is why globalization, why do we need it? The third point is I'll be explaining more on the global north and global south, and of course the final point will be about the effect of globalization, and of course the conclusion. I will start with this quotation by Kelvin Watkins. Contrary, and I quote, "Contrary to the received wisdom, global markets are not unregulated. They are regulated to produce inequality." End of quote. In conventional politics, it has been established that power does not change hand, except the incumbent party gives an excellent performance, otherwise changes its policy towards the yearnings of the electorate. This philosophy perfectly applies to the subject of globalization and its unwavering development, because it is fast and progressively sweeping across the globe, and its effects, if not properly prepared for by nations, especially the underdog ones, it may leave a tale of struggle, lopsidedness of trades, and perhaps trap of perpetual underdevelopment. What is globalization? According to Free Encyclopedia, globalization is the process by which regional economies, societies, and culture are integrated through a global network of communication, transportation, and trade. In other words, the whole world becomes one. All natural barrier is broken. Virtual, even real, and even virtual, they become broken down. So there can be free trade, open market, and everything. Then I'm going to the body of the speech now. My first point is how far has globalization gone? How entrenched is it? I want to submit to you that it has really gone far, because technology has actually made it possible. Technology is the tool of globalization, and you can see today we have smart TVs, smart telephones, like iPhone, iPod, and the rest. Personally, I first heard about the word globalization about 20 years ago when I was doing my first degree. And 5 years later, I started having that effect of globalization. And since then, it has been like the rush of the wind. Globalization really thrives on the advancement of technology. So we can see technology has made globalization really and truly entrenched. And it seems there is no going back. It has reached a point of no return. According to a capitalist investor, Jack Welch, globalization has changed us into a company that searches the world, not just to sell or to source, but to find intelligent capital the world's best talent and greatest ideas. And that's the end of quote. He says globalization has changed them to the company that searches the world. So my point here is that research shows that several other quotations, expressions, and action of people that are in the same status as Mr. Jack Welch, they are similar. And this shows that the underlying factor of globalization is actually exploitation by already highly placed global north multinational companies, contrary to the initial proposition of increased free trade and open markets. That takes me to my third point, and I'll be enumerating more on global north and global south. This is this north and north side divide is a socio-economic terms and political division that exists between the wealthy developed countries and the poorer developing countries. And so you find the wealthy developed countries in the northern hemisphere, while the developed and of course the global south are in the southern hemisphere, and they are less developed. And the characteristics of the global north are exactly that of the global south. Global north are highly prosperous, they have good organization, stable government, less environmental pollution, they are more healthier, less corrupt, less friction between the people and the government. Although the less corruption for the global north is more like a thesis that is, is a thesis on its own, but the evidence shows that their system works better than the global south. My point here is that the only defining relationship between global north and global south, under whatever guises, terms of trade, aids, and whatever, is simply constant manipulation and control by one over the other. Because it is by human nature, if you are already up there and somebody is trying to come at par with you, is by human nature you will not allow, because that person may even come and even slide you away off your feet or off your position, and that the evidence shows that that global south have to look inward, and globalization in itself will not produce equality, that has even been confirmed by quotation, expressions and action of many of these capitalist investors, talking about the multinationals. They will continue to dictate for the global south. And that brings me to the effect of globalization. The fact is that there are some advantages, but may be few. There is likelihood that more people around the world will come up to the middle class, or perhaps some of them getting wealthy. But the fact is that they are not going to be in large number as as expected, or as some people think, or has been theorized. And the fear is this: we know that technology is the tool and language of globalization, and since Southerners are not technologically advanced, they will not be able to compete with the already established global Northerners, or global North. Global South will continue to serve as a source of cheap labor, regardless whether they live in the North or South. What I mean is the global South, whether they remain in the South or they migrate to the North, they will continue to be a source of cheap labor. Because they are not advanced, what are they going to be exploring over there? Nothing, than to be a source of labor for the North. And of course, when the Northerners bring their wealth and technical know-how and a good organization, they can only teach the Southerners, how to come up at par with them. But coming at par will not possible anyway, because for the reasons I already enumerated. So the Southerners will still be source of labor even in the South. The reasons are so glaring. And so that brings me to my next point and the last point under the effect of globalization. And that's the projection and the future of globalization. Other than economic terms or economic elements of globalization, many other things is there, you know. More negative effects that globalization is poised to unload on underdeveloped or developing world are not exhaustive. But they include cultural effects that is already going on, especially it is visible in Africa. You know, they're gradually forgetting about their culture and all the rest. You know, they are taking, you know, that is there. You know, the evidence is there. To cause brain drain, that is already there also. Environmental degradation, you know, I would like to talk about that point. You know, in the global south, this multinational company, especially in the oil industries, there's so much pollution and you know, these companies are profit oriented, and as much as possible they want to make more profit. And I tell you, if you go to the south, especially in oil producing communities, they are highly polluted and high degradation of the environment. But it's not like that in the north. If it happens like we see last year, that it happened last year, Mobile Oil, I mean this accident in the high sea, in the New Mexico, Gulf of Mexico, you see that, you know, government came up with sanctions and all the rest, and the company promptly clean up all this mess. All right, then there might be food insecurity. That's already going on in some part of Africa too, and some part of Middle East like Pakistan, Afghanistan, and the rest. And that is through promotion of biofuel. That's one of the ways we're going to have food insecurity. Then there's likelihood of spread of certain diseases, possibility of new social order, because things have changed. Technology has changed everything. Some 40 years now, I know the difference between what used to obtain in the 80s, 70s, you know, backward, and I know the difference of what is going on now, and that is made possible by technological advancement. In conclusion, I would like to restate, before I conclude, I would like to restate my point. And I talked about what is globalization, how entrenched globalization is, how far has it gone. Then I said what is the rationale or the need for globalization, why globalization. I talked about that, and that's exploitation. Global North and Global South. I was able to explain the difference, you know, between the characteristics of both. And then lastly, I talk about the overall effect of globalization, especially as it affects the Global South. In summary, there is no way we will examine globalization without considering human history, migration pattern, international economic antecedent, labor movement, and current global trend. The spread of technology by way of satellite, chips implantation, space technology, and internet will also make unrestricted access, control, manipulation, and monitoring of less developed nations possible by those that put those technology in place. Although globalization is designed to promote free trade, or assumed is designed that way to promote free trade, the conditions and settings highlighted above undoubtedly reveals undulating playing field and will not in any way ensure equal participation or equal opportunities. When we sum up all these factors, the subject of globalization raises more questions than answers. And I would like to end by this quotation by former US President Jimmy Carter. He said, and I quote, "Globalization is a policy, not an act of God." Thank you, and God bless.